Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time. I think so, from the Zen Sports Studio, where we are trying our damnedest to broadcast live for you this evening. Bert and I are both experiencing power outages, so we're literally doing prime time. Thank God for technology, because we can still find a way to get this thing done for you. But we are doing prime time by firelight, by candlelight. This evening, Bert said this is how the Pilgrims used to do their podcast or something to that effect. Benjamin Franklin's podcast, rate, review, subscribe, whatever the case may be. Either way, just because the storms here in Middle Tennessee have impacted us does not mean that we were going to make you go without prime time in its entirety. So we will do an abbreviated show because, frankly, I'm not sure how much battery life I have left on my phone, and I may need that for the foreseeable future. But we do have Minicamp starting tomorrow, and I think that we at least need to set the table with three main storylines that we are all paying attention to heading out onto the practice field, assuming that they have practice tomorrow, honest to God, with the storms that are in the forecast for the next 2 days. But should Minicamp take place in the bubble or on the practice field, there are three storylines that are worth monitoring heading into this week's work. Before we do this, even though it's an abbreviated primetime show, does not mean that you are absolved from your sharing responsibilities. So if you're hanging out with us on Twitter, please retweet the show. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public. It's in the bottom left. I just realized I'm holding the microphone in front of my face, even though the microphone isn't connected to anything. So I guess I could just do it this way. Share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on YouTube or Twitch, like the video, especially like that damn video, for the fact that not to pat ourselves on the back, but the fact that we're making sure that there's a primetime show, even when I don't have power, I think is deserving of your like on the YouTube video. And if you haven't subscribed on Twitch or YouTube, do so right now. Let's go ahead and talk some Titans. Just a quick little Titans OTA minicamp taste. Until we can get back up and running with our normal functionality tomorrow. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by Zen Sports. Plug in the promo code ATOZTN. Should I hold it? I don't want to hold the candle too close to the backdrop. Watch that catch on fire. ATOZTN is the promo code that you need to get in on all the action in the Zen Sports app. Of course, you know that TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch is where you go for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident, TrueMathFitness.com, where no workout is ever recycled or repeated. And Two Rivers Ford, quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service at the South's most trusted Ford dealer, Two Rivers Ford, in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com for more information. So, three storylines in particular that I'm paying attention to this week at Minicamp. First and foremost, it's the quarterbacks, but it's not just Will Levis. In fact, it's probably more so about the other two quarterbacks and how they continue to progress within the competition. Levis hasn't been perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And for full disclosure, we've only had 2 days of open OTAs to actually watch him. They've been working on the field about 3 days a week, but only one of those days in the last 2 weeks has been open to the media. So twice we've seen him, and he's looked fine. He's looked solid. It's basically 7-on-7 practice out there. But this period is less for me about Levis, even though it's all about Levis, than it is about Willis and Rudolph. And is there anything about Malik Willis's performance that would indicate that this is a team that has the potential of carrying three quarterbacks on the roster heading into 2024? My guess right now is no, and that progress is going to be worth monitoring, because if you don't have a coaching staff that can maximize Malik now, or they can get the best out of Malik now, perhaps it's not viable moving forward, and that's a decision that's going to have to be made, a difficult decision for sure when the roster math gets down to brass tacks. The second part of it is L'Jarius Sneed, and we had Jimmy Wyatt on the radio show today of TennesseeTitans.com, and Jim and I were talking about the idea of, well, we haven't seen Sneed at all. We knew that, at least on the practice field, right? We know he's around the building. We know he's around the facility, and he's certainly in town at this time of year. But we have not seen him on a practice field. Now, immediately, I think there's a contingent of the fan base that would throw up a red flag and say, oh my God, his knees already. If he can't practice, in OTAs when it's just helmets and shorts, then how is he going to be expected to manage a full 17-game NFL regular season throughout the course of this thing? Oh my God, did we overpay for a corner with bad knees? And, I don't know how that's going to play out necessarily, but I know that the knee situation was something that had to be managed last year. And you know what? They had a great plan to manage it last year, and he appeared in all 17 games, and he went to the Super Bowl and won his second Super Bowl together. Don't know. I assume because I just saw that ended up on everybody else's camera. It was Bert and Austin are trying to manage the scene with me behind the scenes here. But either way, so the cornerback situation, and specific to L'Jarius Sneed, is minicamp the first time that we see him actually practicing? Will we have to wait until training camp? Will he even be out there during training camp? Because famously, the reporting out of Kansas City is that L'Jarius Sneed's practice time is few and far between because of the knee situation. He says he's healthy. He knows how to manage it. The Chiefs knew how to manage it. The question is, will the Titans be as successful managing it, especially when they have that big of a financial investment in L'Jarius Sneed right now? And then thirdly is the safety. The safety, if there is one, because now we're through June 1st, right? So in the NFL calendar, the post-June 1 designation is something that you can make at any point in the offseason. If you plan to cut a player and you want to designate them as a post-June 1 release, you can designate that at any time pre-June 1. But the money will not be available to you that you are trying to, clear that contract off the books for, to be able to salvage some of the lost investment or some of the investment that you've made in a particular player. Post June 1, a lot of other NFL teams have significantly more money to work with, or at least a little bit more money to work with. And now the marketplace will be more open. So I would expect at least some movement on the safeties. If not specifically here in Tennessee, I would expect it around the league, because everybody's kind of been waiting around to see what the full marketplace looks like. And I still wouldn't expect a veteran signing really at any position until we get closer to training camp. If not into training camp. Justin Simmons is the name at the top of everybody's mind. And I think that for Titans fans, you should still expect them to bring in some external help. I don't think they're going to roll next to Amani Hooker with what they've basically got, which has kind of just been Elijah Molden and Mike Brown and a couple other dudes who you may or may not be familiar with, had to play some snaps for you last year because of injury and because of the trade. But for the most part, it's just kind of a wait and see. Now that the marketplace has become more viable for guys like Justin Simmons and Marcus May, do they consider other offers that might not have been available to them pre-June 1, now that the finances are available to these teams post-June 1? So those are the three biggest storylines that I'm watching heading into minicamp. Offensive line, defensive line stuff, I'm kind of in a holding pattern on. That's the underlying theme of any of this, because you're looking to see how much better or worse that those players at that position get. And will guys be more available? I guess you could lump this in with the Sneed thing, because we haven't just not seen Sneed, right? It's Simmons, Jeff Simmons, not Justin. Jeff Simmons, Harold Landry, L'Jarius Sneed. There have been a few, and Hopkins was available for one open OTA, though I know he's been working here diligently and been practicing beyond just the one day that we didn't see him out there on the field. NPF, Jalen Duncan, guys like that. T'Vondre Sweat, is he available during minicamp? Because to date, it's really only been one day of rookie minicamp that we've seen T'Vondre Sweat. And anytime that the practices have been open to us, he's not been out there. So is that something that minicamp has resolved? Is he trying to make weight? Will they answer our questions about this? All these things will be documented, certainly, if not outright answered, over the course of the next 3 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Of course, we'll be out there on the practice field. I'm doing the radio show tomorrow from Hattie B's in West Nashville, but I will be out there for the press conferences. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be out there for the bulk of practice, and we'll be able to give you a lot of good observations. Of course, Austin Stanley and I think Travis May as well for A to Z Sports will be out there capturing video and additional observations for you. So make sure you're tuned in to A2Zsports.com and following along on all the social platforms. That's going to do it for this fireside chat, because we are still without power in North Nashville. Bert also without power in Hermitage. So we tried to give you the best version of the primetime show that the resources will allow. And, I'm going to have to make sure that my phone battery stays alive long enough for me to order some batteries for my life, for my flashlight that I was ready for the power outages potentially. And then I realized that I don't have any batteries for my flashlight because I'm a dope. So have a great rest of your evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning on the radio show at 10 a.m. and probably tomorrow afternoon. One would expect a bit of a more normalized primetime show. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Thanks, guys.